Hello everyone, I am about to start some herb seeds for this season and I'm very excited about it because herbs are actually one of my favorite things to grow. Having them around will instantly make your food taste better because it's so easy to use them up. So herbs are also one of the easiest things to grow inside if you have a sunny south-facing window and you don't have a backyard yet. So let me go over with you guys what I'm planning to start today. So first is thyme, and then I also have oregano, which I already have some growing outside, but I want to grow some more. And then sage, I only have sage growing in the front yard of our rental building, so I would like to have some sage here in my backyard too, so it's easy for me to use. I'm also going to grow parsley. I have parsley growing outside again, but they are very small seedlings and I'm not sure if they're going to survive the winter, so I'm going to start some more from seed. Parsley is a bit of a slow grower, it takes a bit longer to grow, but it's okay, we still have plenty of time, it's still January. All of these herbs that I chose to grow today are also cold tolerant, so you can put them out a little earlier if you want. After parsley, I also have cilantro. Now cilantro is very cold tolerant, but it does not like to be transplanted. I want to grow it in a bigger pot like this today to actually use through the winter, and it grows a little bit faster than the other ones. At the moment we have snow and everything is covered, so I'm going to wait a little bit more before I direct sow some of those, but meanwhile I want to have some indoors for me to use as well. And the last thing is green onions. I have plenty of green onions growing outside. I usually don't start them from seed. I will just get organic store-bought green onions, save the white part, put them in the water until the roots are a little bit longer and plant out in the garden. The ones that I have in the gardens were started that way, but because I have those seeds, I'm gonna give it a try and grow some from seed. And the last thing I'm gonna grow today is actually not from seed. Speaking of store-bought things, I bought this organic mint a few weeks ago and I decided to try to root them, but I did something different this time. I actually harvested all of the mint because I just picked all the mint to use it to cook with, and then I left the stems and placed the stems in water in here without many leaves, and after a few weeks they started growing some new leaves. Those are all beautiful new growths, and some of them have roots. So mint is notoriously known as an aggressive grower. That's why I thought to do this with them. The mint that I have in the garden, if a stem like this touches a piece of soil, it will root. So I thought to make an experiment with the berry stems as well, and it worked. I'm not sure if that's going to work for everybody. It was my first time trying, and that's what it did for me, so I thought to mention here. But I am going to take out some of the ones that are rooting also and put in a container so they can start growing a little bit more. I have mint in my garden, but I have the heavily flavored ones. I have a peppermint and a chocolate mint. This is more the standard grocery store, more usual mint. I don't know the variety specifically, but the one that you mostly cook with. And I want that too because I find that the ones that I have, I love to use them for tea, but I don't cook with them very much. And I want to cook more with mint this year, and I definitely want to have some more of it in my garden. So that's what I did, and this is a very affordable way if you want to actually do your own rootings. Herbs tend to be very easy to grow from cuttings. You can do the same thing with basil. I've done it with basil. I'm trying to do it with rosemary too. I don't know if I'm going to be successful with that, but if it works, I'll probably show you guys. Let's get started with filling those seedling trays with soil first. I have some potting soil here. This is just regular potting soil. I like to use potting soil because it has some extra nutrients in there, already some fertilizer, and the brand that I use is this Happy Frog, made from Fox Farms, and I've been using this one to start all of my seeds this winter. The mixture can be a little barky, so I usually sift them. I didn't sift today because I only had a little bit. I'll just go ahead and remove some really big pieces if I see them while I'm potting. But one important thing too that you can do is to pre-moisten your potting soil, especially if you're beginning and you're new to gardening. I don't always do that, but it is a very helpful step if you can do it. So that will help with keeping the soil in place and not misplacing the seeds when you water after, and also just prevent air pockets from happening. So we're just gonna pre-moisten. You don't want to make it too wet. Just grab it with your hands, and if it stays together like this, you can fall a little bit, and that doesn't have a lot of soil water coming out, that's a good sign. I do not like to over water my soil, make it very soggy. Just slightly moistened is good, especially because I will still use a spray bottle to water them when I finish sowing those seeds. So this is pretty good. I'm going to fill up this little 6 cell container. You don't need to use this if you don't have them. You can use little pots like this, it's totally fine. I don't want to make a mess. I put a little cloth in here on my table to avoid the mess a little bit. When you're dealing with soil, it can be a little messy, but make this a little bit easier to see. I'd much rather be doing this outside, but it's too cold, so we just do it in the home. It's not too bad, it's only a little bit. So we're just going to fill this up. This is a bit of a bigger cell container. They're deep. You can start in a much smaller one if you prefer, and you know that you can put those out sooner. I plan to keep them inside for a little bit because I want to start pruning them and using them. If I have a bigger cell, they just will have more space to grow, or a bigger container. And then it's important that you lightly press your soil when you put it in. You don't want to make it super dense, but you want to press it a little bit or temp it so you remove any air pockets from the soil as well. This should be pretty good. That's how it looks like after it's done. And now we are ready to start sowing our seeds. I have the tags in here. The thyme, I want to do 2, so I'm going to put kind of from this side. I want to do 2 cells for the thyme, and then 1 of oregano, 1 of sage, 1 of green onions, and 1 of parsley. And that's how it looks. Now we're going to start opening our seed packs. These seed packs are pretty old for me. Those seeds are old. They're from 2020. That's when I first started gardening, because the first things I tried to grow were herbs. The first seeds I bought. But I kind of messed it up back then. I just threw a bunch of them in the garden outside, hoping that they would grow. Now I know better. So I'm starting them inside. Thyme seeds are very small. There's plenty in this package though, which is a good thing. If you watched my other seed starting videos when I started the snapdragons, the cool seeds and flowers, they kind of look like snapdragon seeds. Very tiny and small. And I'm also just going to sprinkle them over the top. On the seed pack it says to sow 1/4 of an inch deep, but these are so small. I am just going to sprinkle them over. Same with this. And I'm putting a lot of seeds in there because the seeds are old. I'm not sure how viable they are. But then after that I'll press them all down. Because this soil is wet, I don't want to get my hands very dirty. I'm going to do that at the end. I'm going to now move on to the oregano. Oregano seeds are probably also very small from what I remember. Oh my gosh, they're even smaller than the thyme. Check this out. Sure. Tiny. Just like little grains of sand. I'm still going to sprinkle some over the soil. Oops. If I got extra plants, I'll just share. I'll give them to some of my neighbors and friends and family. So let's see how this one is going to do. Next up I have sage. This is also for 2020, and I think the plant that I have growing in the front is from those. Oh, these ones are big. Oh, oops. Those are very big seeds, big and round. Most also look like brassica seeds, like the ones I started in my last seed starting video with the cool seeds and vegetables. A little bigger than the brassicas, but still round and black. So I'm going to punch, let me see, 2 little holes in here. And I'm going just to add the 3 and 2, because I had 5 in there. Last, then I have green onions. I actually got this from Hawaii. The name of the place is Mars Garden. How cool is that? But it's at their Japanese grower in Hawaii, so I think it's Japanese. And I want to grow more onions in my garden to kind of use also as a repellent, pest repellent. This looks like just like regular onion seeds. From what I remember, onions need darkness to germinate. It did not have information in this package about the depth. So I am going to cover this with a little bit more soil after I put them all in here. This is probably more seeds than I need, but I just want to see how they would do. And then the last one will be parsley, which also did very well germinating in my garden. They have tons of seeds in this pack. I'm not gonna add too much, just a little bit is good. So for this parsley I will sprinkle kind of a little bit separate if I can. And I'll cover that as well a little bit because it's a bigger seed. They are now exposed. I will go ahead and add some more soil in the ones that I said can cover. Take out the bigger pieces. I should have sifted this. It's hard for me when it's cold to be outside. And the oregano is pretty small. I don't really want to add a lot of soil to that, but I will add this and put the rest on my cilantro pot. There we go. Now I'm gently going to press this with the oregano. I'm going to check my hands, make sure that I don't have seeds on my fingers before I move on to the next one, to the thyme back here. I'll press it out. Alright, here we have it. Our first herbs for the season. I'm so excited. I will grow more, the heat-loving ones, the basil, and all of that a little bit later. But for now, those are cold tolerant and they take a long time to grow, so those are the first ones that needs to get started. The last thing on here, I'm gonna remove all the seed packs to make sure they don't get too wet. So this keeps those seeds viable. I will just mist with some water. It's good to do this instead of using a watering canner like this because it's a lesser risk for you to misplace the seeds. If you do this a bit gentler, and it will probably leave the seeds in there where they should be. Sometimes when you pour water on top, the seeds just roll to the edges. So I like to always use a spray bottle with my seedlings, and I actually keep using a spray bottle to keep the soil moist all the way until they germinate. That's good. Now we are going to move on to the cilantro. They're bigger seeds too, so I'm going to punch a little hole with my fingers, and I'm going to throw like maybe 5 seeds in there all at once. There we go, and close it up. And we're going to do the same thing and water that with a spray bottle. If you feel that your soil is a little bit on the dry side, you could also get a little container, anything that fits underneath here, and put some water, and that way the soil will absorb water from the bottom. For the mint, I'm going to select the ones that have roots. So this is how they look right now. I could wait longer, but since I'm making a video about starting herbs, I thought why not already put them on soil. This is how the roots are going to look like. They usually grow on those nodes over here, where the same places where the leaves will come from if they were above the soil. So you see there's some growth. This is growing from a node over here. Very nice new growth on this mint. And then if there's some nodes in here that will under the water, so the roots are probably gonna come from here. This one does not have a root yet and is still growing these beautiful brand new mint leaves. Same with this. The roots are probably gonna come from these nodes over here. Put those on the side. This one has rooted and has a nice top. So this one's gonna go in here. I'm gonna do a deep hole with my finger this time because these already have roots. They can go all the way in. I was gonna put them all in the same hole, but I changed my mind right now. I'm going to give them a little bit extra space. So this one, so I have 2 more that has roots. Perfect. Those have little ones, but as I say, mint is kind of a aggressive grower, so that little bit's already okay. Place them in here and in here. There we go. Now that I'm doing this, I actually think that I should have done in a bigger pot, but that's all right. Let's see how they're doing here. I will add a little bit more soil to this. Sorry, I'm making a mess in here. Part of doing gardening stuff, it's okay. So there it is, we have a little mint. And I'll keep those guys inside here, rooting. And once it warms up a little bit more, maybe even a couple weeks outside, as soon as I can actually poke the soil, put them in, I will put them in my green stock, I think. On the bottom tier, because they are aggressive growers and they will root everywhere if you put them on top. So there we go, we have our mint, our cilantro from seed, and all of our other herbs in here. Now these herbs that we started from seed do not need to be under light right away. They will only need light technically when they start germinating, but if you have extra light in there, that's not gonna hurt. I have a grow light set up where all of my other seedlings are already growing and I have space there. So these are going to live under those grow lights together with them. And this one over here could stay up here on my windowsill. I have a bright south-facing window. Also, I just want to say that you do not need to put as many seeds as I did in here. Just 2 or 3 seeds per hole would be fine if you're not trying to grow a lot of plants. If you have new seeds and you know they're viable, just 2 to 3 seeds per cell should be okay. And herbs can take a little longer to germinate. That's why I recommend that you start early. Most of them on their seed packs would say to start them 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date. Our last frost date here in New York City, it's on April 1st. We are in zone 7B. But those are cold tolerant, as I say. I would even be comfortable putting them out a little bit sooner if I have a way to cover them. But the time, for example, say in the pack here to start 8 to 10 weeks before. So just be mindful and take a look at the back of your seed packs and see how long they would need. Obviously, you can start earlier and just have them in, as I'm doing right now, to use them through the winter. But if you are planning to put them in the garden, just know that sometimes it can be slow to germinate, and it is a good idea to start them very early if you can.